take projection.
Welcome everybody to Taking on Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing, man?
I am good. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Down here in New Orleans for our yearly Jazz Fest sojourn. Uh,
Nice.
could be better. We could have pulled the
Mm-hmm.
big upset Saturday night, but
Yeah.
we
Right.
knew it was
We
a
playing
tall
right now.
task, and
Yeah.
yeah, right. We ran into a tough team, man, and they showed us why they're so good.
Mm-hmm.
You and I were just talking about it. You just said a big thing too. As hot as we were in that first half, shooting over 70% from three, we were still down four at the break, and
Yeah.
that pretty much tells you all you need to know. Um, but we knew, like we said last week, we were happy to be here. We just wanted to show them that we weren't scared. I think we gave them a better game than anyone anticipated.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we knew a win would have made it would have been a upset along the lines of, like we said last week, UConn over Duke in '99, or
Yeah.
Duke over UNLV in '91.
Yeah. That was that big.
Yeah, but yeah. What are your thoughts overall on the game though? Any places you thought we could any turning points, or just any final thoughts, or just
Well, honestly, I thought for whatever reason, for the last 12 minutes, I thought we were playing really tight. I don't know. It just seemed like we were with them. We went on like they went on a little run and we went on a little run and come back. And then they went on an 8 point run and we went on an 8 point run. And then they hit another eight. And after that, I think they went back up eight again. Like we just, I don't know. It just seemed like they ran out of gas or they just weren't loose anymore. But, that probably has more to do with UConn than anything because they, turned it to a different level that last 10 minutes. I mean, it seemed like they hit all their clutch shots. Their defense picked up. And then, man, we went cold shooting the ball.
ice cold?
It didn't seem like we could get anything to go. And then, it seemed like they got every loose ball out there and got multiple shots. We just had no answers toward the end. But, the score definitely not indicative of how good a game really was. I mean, up until,
Mm-mm.
they shut it out. I mean, they went up, the last 5 minutes. I mean, we really didn't do a whole lot. But for 30, about 35 minutes, I mean, we were there. Maybe, you know, they knew they were in the game. But um, uh,
It's I think
yeah,
I said to my friends it's kind of what it must have been like for other teams to play us during the height of the Saban years. Uh,
yeah, the
throw
Bears,
everything you got
and
at someone and they just swat it
yeah,
away continuously. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's the thing with UConn. They don't necessarily have like a true superstar. I mean, they just have a bunch of people that are really good.
I was just gonna say, it was weird. It seemed like the biggest moment of the game when Grant Nelson dunked on old dude. Um, After that, it was like it almost pissed them off because after that is when we didn't get any closer. After that,
They kind of shut everything down.
yeah, they went on their
Yeah.
another 8-0 run. After that, we never got closer to 6 points. After that,
Hmm.
we will always have that though. That Grant Nelson dunked on Klingon. You know,
Oh yeah. Yeah, they did. Should have got an one, honestly. I mean, that was cool as well.
absolutely, yeah. And that was one of those tough things about that game. I mean, we had that, and then the Pringle had that clean
Yeah.
block on him too that they called a
Oh
foul. And
yeah.
it's hard the way that college refs call these big men. We see it all season with
Hmm.
Zach Edey at Purdue, that these guys get a bunch of calls,
Yeah.
and it didn't used to be like that. Like Shaq used to come.
No, it used to be the exact
Mhm.
opposite.
Shaq used to complain that he got less fouls called on him because it didn't look like he was so strong it
Cause
didn't affect him as much.
it was
Yeah,
affecting them,
but he was still
right?
getting hacked.
Yeah, he's getting destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so it's unfortunate, but yeah, you run up against a team that they're good. Um, it happens. I
Hmm.
like that Mark's.
And that's the thing with
Go
that's
ahead.
no what I was gonna say. I mean, that's the thing about UConn. I mean, they don't necessarily. I mean, Klingon's kind of a star, but I mean, they don't necessarily have like a true superstar. They just have a bunch of guys that are all really good.
Hmm.
You know, that's how they were last year too. I mean, there's no one that you're like that dude is amazing, but as a unit, they just come together and it's just
Hmm.
ridiculous.
Yeah, they're a true team. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I did like that Mark
yeah, they
Sears
are
kind of tried
definitely.
to steal the ball from old coach's son at the end of the game. Didn't let that bullshit go down.
Yeah, I did like that. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I like that. Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's something like you can't. I guess being that this is the first time. I wasn't even really mad. Like, it looked, I don't know. Like, I didn't feel like I do after losses. In the season there. We lost to like Tennessee or Florida. It was really different. I guess because it's our first Final Four. So the loss really didn't bother me too much, just because I mean it's new territory for us. I mean, it's new history. The main thing that I want, is hopefully that we as a program we continue at this level. I mean, we showed that we can do it, and it doesn't have to be a fluke thing. Yeah, we may not make the Final Four
mhm.
every year, but it shouldn't be another 20, 30 years, a lifetime before we get back to
Right.
this. We, we're, I feel like, Coach Oates, I mean, well, we know what he's brought. He's brought a style that people like to play with. He's a solid recruiter. I mean, he's brought in
Hmm.
a lot. We have a couple of All Americans McDonald's All Americans coming in. And then he hits the transfer portal really well. Um, and we just have to, I guess, just keep getting the right guys to fit the system, and hopefully, find a center that can, you know, get us to that next level. A true, more of a true
Hmm.
big man. I mean, we don't necessarily have one that needs a score. We just need a
You
inside
need that.
presence
Yeah, you need that length.
consistently.
We talked all year about how Chuck Bediako
Yeah,
being on this team would have really changed a lot of things.
man, would have been
Hmm.
so different. And then maybe that would have been the difference on
Yeah.
Saturday. Who knows?
But yeah, you mentioned we.
And I
Go ahead.
still, no, no, I still wonder, I wonder and I mean, I haven't really paid attention to what he's been doing. I know he's mainly a G League guy, but I wonder if he ever thinks like, damn, maybe I should have went back to Alabama.
Uh,
I mean,
yeah,
I,
who knows, right?
I don't know.
Um,
Because the thing is with this, with NIL money, I mean, honestly, if you're not necessarily an NBA dude and you're a G League guy, why not go back to college?
hmm.
Because I mean, I guarantee there's more NIL money than G League money, honestly, for the average guy. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, but it was a fun ride, and my main thing is hopefully we can just keep it going in some sense there. Um, make us where we build from this, and like we always say, the second weekend should be almost a guaranteed thing. It shouldn't be really a year where we don't make that second weekend, and then once we get there, I guess kind of sky's the limit. But Sweet 16 should be the minimum for the level that we've been playing at for the last couple of
Yeah,
years.
it should be big news if we don't make the second weekend. Um, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But yeah, we from now we
But
go. We
yeah.
hope that maybe at least one of Mark Sears or Grant Nelson stays. Obviously, we wanted
Yeah,
both. But Mark
yeah,
Sears' draft stock really shot up. A lot of Jalen Brunson comparisons. Um, Grant
yeah.
Nelson,
And honestly, I mean, and with like, I mean, the thing, of course, with Mark Sears, the biggest thing is if there's a time to go. I mean, this is it. I mean, just because, I mean, his stock is probably never going to get higher
hmm
than what it was this year. And honestly, I mean, if there's a year to go, it's this year because, I mean, this isn't exactly the cream of the crop draft
right. And
class.
it'd be
I
so
mean,
hard to
it's not enough.
replicate his season. I mean, he had the highest scoring season in Alabama
Yeah,
basketball history. Um,
yeah,
yeah, to match that kind of value, he'd have to do it again next year. Not saying he couldn't, he
yeah.
very well could, but like you said,
And
it
that's,
might be no the time is now for him. But maybe you hope a guy
yeah.
like
His stock, I don't think it'll
yeah,
be
maybe you hope a
that.
guy like Grant Nelson maybe gets some talk, but maybe has some guys tell him like, look, stay in another year and be more
Right.
consistent. And then
Yeah.
yeah, we got two McDonald's All Americans coming
Just,
in. Never know what Nate Oates does in the transfer portal, or
you
what another year for guys like
right.
Rylan Griffin or Wrightsell or Stevenson
Right.
does.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Stevenson technically should be in
mhm,
high school. So, I mean, hopefully we got, and we saw his
mhm.
potential, in that Carolina game. I'm not sorry,
Clemson,
not the
yeah, yeah,
Carolina
Clemson
game,
game,
the
yeah,
Clemson game. We saw, what he could be there. It's, we saw Ryland at different times throughout the year. I mean, at times he just took things over. So I mean, if we got the best of Ryland Griffin on a consistent basis, I mean, he could be something
hmm
special. Um, but and if we could get something, it looks like I don't know. I mean, right? So I saw some posts where he was basically, that on one of the thank you posts, he had a heart and a peace sign. I don't know if that means he's leaving. I don't know, but I mean, he's a senior. And I guess the only one who didn't have any more time was Estrada, technically, out of the transfer
you know,
guys, if
we
I'm
know,
not
yeah, he's
mistaken.
out of
So, I mean,
eligibility. He's used his COVID year, all that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, we'll see. It's just that's what we're in that part of the season. We see what happens.
yeah,
We know at least it
right,
shouldn't be. Hopefully not as bad as last year where everybody's gone. But
right,
that's also the nature
right.
of college sports right now.
That's the
Um,
college sports. Yeah, that is the nature of it. I mean, and then, but the other good thing too. I mean, it was really different last year because not only did he have to replace like 80% of the team, but he had to replace his whole coaching
yeah,
staff as well. And I know I think we're losing one coach, but it's not going to be the same turnover there. But you know, I there's a certain notoriety that you get from making the Final Four. So, hopefully we capitalize off that and use that to our advantage of recruiting, the transfer portal, anything else. And then also it just shows, that just the system that he runs. I mean, of course, people are always oh, his defense, the defense isn't good, but if you're a offensive player right now and you're looking for somewhere to go, I mean, you would have to think you would at least look at Alabama because I mean, he he runs a system that's beneficial to players. I mean, they have to like his style. Basically saying, hey, jack up a three, that's cool. If it's a good shot,
yeah,
take that. you know? Um, so, I mean, in today's game, I mean, people have to be thrilled with that. I mean, this is a guy that the only guy who's allowed to shoot the middle range jump shot was
yeah.
Estrada. Just because he's a decent middle range guy. No one else really had that green light. So, but, we'll just see where this takes us. But I think I'm just excited what the program is. I mean, So I mean, since St. Oates has been there, I mean, three Sweet 16s, an Elite Eight, a Final
Hmm.
Four. I mean,
Two SEC regular season and
and
tourney
that,
champs.
and tournament champs. I mean, we've done a lifetime of Alabama basketball success in like a 5 year
Hmm.
period. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
New
And
heights
there's
being
no
reached,
shame in listening to the defending
and
champs who, you know,
who's
like I
probably
say,
going to win
currently have
again.
what a 6 point halftime
Mm,
lead in the title game. So,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
but yeah, like we said, it sucked that we went cold. We could, I felt if we obviously we
yeah.
couldn't shoot the whole game at a 70% clip, but and then
Right.
there's not to blame the game on the refs. We're not doing that, but there's some shadiness. Like we said, Grant Nelson should
Mm,
have had an and one on that dunk. Big
Um,
Primo got a clean block
we
and got
got
called
some.
for a foul.
I don't think
They
they
had a
did
lot
us
more
any
free
help in the
throws than we
first
did.
half. But they were definitely
Um,
got a lot more free throws than we did.
but
But
so it
that's
goes.
just kind of
Yeah,
what you expect.
we'll move on and
Yeah,
let's do it again next year. Let's
yeah,
build the
for
damn
sure.
arena. Um,
Yeah, right. I mean, if this doesn't get you an arena, I don't know what's gonna get you
exactly,
one.
and especially
Yes.
important now that last night, Sunday nights, we're recording this Monday night, of course. Big
Yeah,
news. Coach Cal has left Kentucky for Arkansas, or at least that's the reports. I don't know if we haven't seen an official
yeah. I
announcement yet.
mean, it's
Yeah,
pretty official. But I mean, it's pretty much an
yeah.
official thing
Which
there. I mean, so I mean, that's just
crazy,
huge
huge for the Arkansas program.
for
Funny too, because
yeah,
me and some friends were talking about the hierarchy of SEC basketball historically. Obviously, Kentucky is number one, far and away, no argument. But then we're at trying to talk about
yeah,
Alabama's place in it, especially now with the Final Four bid. We talked Florida has what
yeah,
five Final Fours, two titles, but it's really a lot of it is just kind of this century. It's
yeah,
very recent success. Um, Arkansas,
right,
great traditional program too, a national title, a couple Final Fours, but kind
yeah,
of fell off
yeah.
in recent years until at least Musselman got it back up and going.
Musselman got it back. Yeah, I mean, he had what
Yeah.
two elite eights, the Sweet
Hmm.
16, and then they kind of just had a weird season this year. Like I think sounds like a lot of
Yeah.
chemistry issues, players not getting along, whatever happened there. So yeah, they fell off a little bit. And it's funny to think though that all this domino started because uh, the USC coach went to SMU.
Insane, right? SMU trying to make a big move going to the ACC next year. They take USC's
Yeah,
coach.
brought
USC
in
takes Arkansas's coach, and
Musselman, yeah, and then
Arkansas
that
takes Coach
leads to
Cal. And
Kentucky.
of course, Nate Oates is on the list for Kentucky. They would love to have him. He affirmed his commitment to Alabama
Yeah,
today. Um,
yeah, I saw
but
that
and really too, like
because of course he was a hot
yeah,
name.
hot name plays a style that Kentucky fans would love to see. But at the same time,
Yeah,
he's the man at Alabama right now.
yeah,
He can build his own legacy here. He can get the statue out in front of
yeah,
the new arena that he helped
hmm
usher in, especially if he finally brings his
right,
school a national title in basketball, or at least a few more Final Fours.
yeah,
Um,
right. Because I mean, yeah, because I mean, of course, like we always say, Kentucky like us in
hmm.
football. In Kentucky, it's a national title where it doesn't really matter. And they're a spoiled fan base. They expect Final Four or nothing.
Hmm.
And for a while, Cal had it rolling. But the last couple of years, they just haven't succeeded as well. Because of course, had some weird exits out of the first round of the tournament. There, 3 years in a row, not making the second weekend. He's been getting into it more with the fans.
Hmm.
So I mean, it was a marriage that was good, and then it ran its course. And I would have expected, they didn't fire him after the loss this tournament, but you knew that it was one of those things like if they started out bad next year, or things didn't go as you almost felt like a fire was going to happen at some point. I guess for everybody it's better to get the stuff done now than do it mid-season or after next season, because it almost felt like a dead man walking
Hmm.
situation. You just knew that it's one way or the other it wasn't going to end well. So it's better you know
No,
to get it
yes,
done
that
before the season.
relationship had been on the rock.
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah, that relationship has been on the rocks for a while, and for all of the wins Coach Cal had there, just the one national
Yeah,
title.
and that's 2012 and 2024 now, and
Yeah,
that's a long, long wait.
hmm
And of course, he's
and like
been
you
to a
said,
couple of
Kentucky
Final
fans have
Fours.
high, high
Yeah, they do.
expectations.
I mean,
Yeah,
since then
yeah,
he went to the Final
they had,
Four in 14, 15, but just ran into 14, lost in the national title
and
game as a. I mean, they came into that tournament as an 8 seed and made it to the national title game, lost to UConn. 15,
right.
that was an amazing team when they went and ran the table and then ran into Wisconsin in the Final Four.
Yeah,
Lost to
he
them.
almost had the first unbeaten season in men's basketball since
This,
Bobby Knight and the
yeah,
Hoosiers back in the
yeah,
'70s. Yeah.
in '76, yeah.
Um,
And since then, I mean, they've had some, but yeah, just the last couple of years just really didn't help them out at all. And, they had a horrible COVID season. Um, and
yeah.
then
Oof.
they had the bad, Nevada exit with St. Peter's, in the first round, and then K State in the second round last year. And of course this year, quick exit. And his style, of course, is always the one and done guy. I mean, that's what Cal's built his whole time off of. I mean, he had Derrick Rose in Memphis,
Hmm.
and um, but it seems like that's not what necessarily. I mean, that's what. I mean, depends how you look at Cal's success. I mean, if you look at it as he builds up guys and gets them ready for the league, then I mean he succeeded at what he's done. From a Kentucky fan
Hmm.
standpoint, they probably feel like with all the 5 stars and big names that they've had, they've underachieved considerably. So I guess it all depends how you look at the success for that program.
Hmm.
But it'll be interesting to see what he does in
Yeah.
Arkansas. I mean, obviously Arkansas is a storied program. You know, Nolan Richardson had that thing rolling for a long time. They've had some up and down times since. Really, I mean, this is the biggest name since Nolan Richardson as far as just the notoriety. I mean, Cal finds success everywhere he
Yes,
goes
absolutely.
there. I mean, obviously recruits like no other, so it'll be interesting to see what type of recruits he brings to Arkansas. And I would have to think he'll probably have him rolling again next year. 'Cause, I mean,
Hmm.
if you look at Cal when he first gets somewhere, I mean, he wins to start. And so they're going to be, I think they're going to be a force there. I mean, he's going to get them back to, what Arkansas fans, I mean, they're a proud fan base. They love their basketball program and they have some high expectations. Not nearly as high as Kentucky, but I mean, they expect their team to, be competitive. I mean, they really seem to, I mean, Musselman had a role in up until this year. 2 Elite Eights, Sweet 16 last year, and then just didn't go this year. So, fresh face, a new star for Cal, and a place. But I think the Arkansas fan base will embrace them. Um, at least to start off, and we'll see how it goes from there.
Yeah,
It's,
it's just a
just,
great get for Arkansas. Like you said, it's huge,
yeah.
a coup for them, but also kind of convenient for Kentucky, and we'll see who Kentucky goes out. You would think,
Mm-hmm.
like we said, of course, Nate Oates probably gets a call at least, but you would also think
Yeah,
Kentucky probably wants someone who's won a national title, maybe. So uh, that'd be interesting.
maybe. I mean, obviously they're going for a
Yeah.
big hire. I think they're going for a big splash. They're not going for just the middle. or an up and coming guy or anything like
Mm-mm.
that. They're going for the big name.
No.
During
Um,
at the end of the season, just listen to people and what's that guy named Matt Jones and the Kentucky Sports Radio stuff. I mean, I guess one of their
mhm,
biggest things their program they like Scott Scott Drew from Baylor. I mean, he's had some
mhm,
great success. Obviously, he's won the national title at Baylor. I mean, and that's big in itself considering. I mean, that just doesn't happen that much in Waco, other than what Kim Mulkey did. But on the men's side, I mean, before him, the program was literally dead. I mean, with all that weird stuff with Dave Bliss and the murders and all the craziness that happened there,
mhm.
and turning from that into what he's turning into is amazing. And to turn him into somewhat of a national power. Yeah, I mean, you can see why Kentucky would want that guy because you have to think if they're on the Mount Rushmore of college basketball programs, and if you can win at Baylor, you would think you would definitely be able to succeed in Lexington. um,
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and
Billy Donovan's another
yeah,
name you see.
but they,
Trying to see if he wants to leave the
yeah,
pros.
but I mean, the big thing is just if you. I don't know. You wonder. He's been away from the college game for a while. It's really different as far as recruiting NIL.
Hmm.
Transfer portal, is that something he wants to get involved in again? Because I mean, he really didn't experience to the what the I mean, of course, they had transfers for a thing, but not to the extent, of course, what they are now, where people are building their team halfway on transfers. So it'll be interesting to
Right, right.
see if he even wants to do that. But of course, he had time in Kentucky under Patino, so I mean, he understands the program. So I mean, that's a plus here because you have to understand what you're getting into when you go to a place like Lexington. I mean, he understands how to win in the SEC. Obviously, winning two national titles back to back, and had a third. He's been a what, three or four, well, at least three Final Fours himself at Florida. So you'd have to think I mean, could probably do that in Lexington. Um, and then other names, but I'd have to think those are probably the leading guys there. So we'll see if anybody wants the job there. But it's one of those jobs. I mean, it's we always ask who wouldn't want to come there. Because I mean, it's one of those jobs. It's hard to say no to. But I guess it all depends on what you're looking to do. If you want to take that next step to an elite program, or if you're happy with winning where you're at. Um, and so that'll be interesting because in Kentucky's different, as we know.
Hmm.
Scott Drew. I mean, he's a legend, but I mean, the pressure. I mean, there's no pressure in Waco. He's the man in Waco. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if so it'd be interesting. Yeah, there's just not the ability to want to get back into the college game because I mean, the NBA is a grind just because of all the traveling and stuff, but just in that 82 game schedule. But I mean, it's a different type of grind in college, and he's been away from that for a while now. So it'll be interesting to see if he even wants to do that. I know they had mentioned Patino, but I don't know if too many bridges have been burned there. So that'd be interesting.
That would be the funniest. I think
That'd
that
be
would be
the
the
that'd be
funniest
the
one.
wildest hire.
Um,
That'd be crazy. But
That'd be yeah. I've seen Bruce Pearl's name thrown out there, but
yeah,
I don't think Mitch Barnhart wants to go with a guy that's got a show cause on
yeah. I
him.
mean, if anything, like you look, Bruce Pearl almost look at him as like great value, a great value Calipari in a way. Big, a character, a boisterous guy. I mean, he's either you love him or you
Yeah.
hate him. Um, he recruits well. Obviously, he can win. We've seen him win at Final Four there. Hasn't been as good the last couple of years, but I mean, he's still, putting decent teams out. We saw him win in Tennessee before the show clause. So, but, and then, yeah, I just don't know if that's what the way that Kentucky wants to go at the moment.
Yeah, and then you think obviously they give Dan Hurley a call, but
But
uh,
man, I
who
mean,
knows if he wants to leave? Like, why would you leave UConn? Yeah,
do you believe? I mean, if you went back to back titles, I mean, you're the man, and you have that thing rolling in UConn. Do you leave it when you're at the top of the mountain? Like, I don't know.
hmm
Like, I don't see
yeah,
UConn falling off anytime soon.
yes, yeah, and like there's of course there's pressure at UConn,
Yeah,
but like you said, he's the man. Especially if they finish the job tonight, he wins back-to-back titles.
yeah,
To go from that to Kentucky, where they're just feverish for another national title
yeah.
now. It's if you don't win one in the first 2 or 3 seasons,
So,
then
what's
you
wrong?
know,
What's going on?
yeah. So whereas now, if he wins tonight, UConn, he's got about a 5 year grace period
Yeah,
where they're like, nah, you're cool, you won us back to back,
yeah,
we're good.
yeah.
As long as as long as he doesn't just completely fall off.
Right.
But
And the thing
it's
with
certainly a situation to
right,
watch.
and the thing with UConn, I
Hmm
mean, maybe because they're more tucked away in the the East Coast there, but there just doesn't seem to be like a certain high. There doesn't seem to be a certain
hmm
uh, like when in Kentucky, it seems like all eyes are always on Kentucky. Everything that's going on there. You don't really hear a whole bunch out of UConn. They're kind of a small spot. Far East Coast. I mean, little spot. Obviously, they have a great tradition, but it doesn't seem to have the same, I guess, appeal as far as TV and drama that Kentucky has always had either. You know,
Right.
there's not near the crazy stories and stuff, or um, I mean, I'm sure it's there because I mean, all blue blood programs have that. But yeah, it just doesn't seem like it's the same as far as the craziness that's in Lexington. But I don't think anywhere has quite that. um,
Yeah, it's like I said, it'll be an interesting story to watch
hmm
this week. I imagine that Kentucky will want to get the replacement done quickly.
Yeah, just because recruiting is
Uh,
such a big thing,
yeah.
and they want to get it right.
hmm
Um, but
And they'll want somebody to get in
oh
there to
yeah,
talk maybe a couple guys out of transferring, to maybe talk a couple guys into
right.
staying, before draft season.
And then also the
But yeah,
recruits.
yeah.
So,
But that's it.
yeah,
On the other side of things, South Carolina
yeah,
completed their unbeaten season.
yeah,
Dawn Staley were just cementing her status as just a badass, one of the greats
yeah.
in the
Three,
women's game.
three national
Um,
titles now under her belt there.
mhm,
And the thing with people always just with the era that we're in, and especially on the women's side. I mean, yes, there's the elite programs that are a step above everybody else, but it right now is probably the hardest time to be a dominant program, just because there's more
mhm.
equity across the board, and
Yeah. What when lost connection again there for a second, but yeah, there's a lot of great things. I mean, they had to beat a great player in Caitlin Clark. Uh, yeah, like you said, it's not easy. It never is in the NCAA tournament on either side. Um, but yeah, anything else in the college game you want to hit on?
no. But I was just saying what. Okay. No, I was just saying, just what she's done. I mean, in today's women's game, I mean, just because there's so many programs that are on the top. There's not just two, three programs. I mean, there's a lot of great programs. It's much harder to win in this era. The competitiveness level is on a different level right now with the women's game. I've heard of won three, and honestly, probably should have won last year as well. I mean, they kind of had a fluke loss to Iowa, if you can call it that. I mean, and honestly, probably would have beat LSU last year because they have LSU's number. I mean, and that would have been two straight seasons of undefeated basketball. I mean, that's just crazy. Was a record like 109-3 in the last 3 years or something? It's
It
ridiculous.
it's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Um.
wild.
Yeah. It's just an outstanding team, an outstanding program, outstanding coach, players.
It's not. I mean, it's not going anywhere either. I mean, obviously they're
No.
gonna
Mm-mm.
continue to get the best talent from the high school ranks to the transfer portal. And then, Don Staley's, not only a great basketball coach, but if you want your kid to learn good life lessons and have a coach as a mentor or someone they could, turn to with stuff, I mean, she seems to be that type of person you want your kid to play for, more than just the wins on the court. Um, Seems
Yeah.
like just a good person. Like if my daughter was, All American guard or any type of, anybody that could be a D1 star basketball player. I mean, I don't think it's another coach I would want to play for.
Yeah.
Just
Exactly.
with
Yeah.
everything
It's
she brings on and off the court. So
yeah. By all accounts, she's a great coach and an even better person. Um.
yeah, never
Yeah.
heard anything negative about her ever.
No, not one. Um. But yeah. Like I said, congratulations, South Carolina.
hmm
And that's we're watching now to see if UConn can go back to back.
It's
It
looking
looks like
good. I
yeah, more they're pulling away.
mean, they're up
Uh,
10 in 11 minutes. Yeah, I mean, and you don't see UConn move. They don't. They finish
yeah,
teams off in these
yeah.
situations. So
And
be interesting.
Purdue's,
Oh wow, he just airballing free throws.
oof,
See,
yeah. And Purdue's a good team,
wow.
but they're not quite a team that can really go on that kind of
No,
spurt. Um,
no, they're not.
but yeah.
Yep.
Uh, let's see. So that's probably it for the college game for now. Like we said, this week
Yeah,
we'll be watching, for the Kentucky,
yep.
see what
Kentucky
moves they make.
announcement,
Um,
and then everything in the transfer portal should be going crazy in the next
oh yeah.
week or two as well. So that'll be fun to see, and just
Mhm.
be interested to see what we do, what other programs do with the transfer portal players, and then we'll just kind of college basketball kind of fall back as it normally does into the until for most people until next March.
Yeah.
For us, if you're a college basketball fan, you love it. But yeah, for most people, it kind of falls off back until March. Again, but
Well, we talked about it now with Nate Oates here, or in Tuscaloosa.
yeah,
There'll be it's kind of weird to start anticipating college, basketball season in the middle of football
yeah,
season now.
right, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. There's a certain excitement. Yeah, with that.
yeah.
Um,
But
you know,
build the arena again. It's just build
yeah,
the arena,
build that man
please.
the arena.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, moving. Let's see, real quick around the world of sports. We won't spend too much time since we're having some connection issues here. But in the NBA, I did want to say something. We talk and talk and talk about how that West is just so tight together, and then
Yeah,
one little losing streak, and lo and behold, my
yeah,
Pelicans. Brandon
yeah,
Ingram gets hurt, Zion gets a little injury. They struggle,
hmm
lose four in a row, and then all of a sudden they're back in the play-in spots.
yeah, yeah. I saw that.
Fighting it out. They're tied with the Suns, but the Suns have the tiebreaker. Although the
Oh,
Pels did finally get a win over them last night.
yeah,
Your Mavericks still surging, up in the
man, good
fifth
ball.
spot. The
Yeah,
Clippers have recovered a little bit, so they got a 2 game cushion on that fourth seed. Um,
yeah.
but yeah,
But I
and
mean, yeah,
The Rockets they
got
fell off a little
eliminated.
bit. Yeah, and
Yeah,
they're officially
I think they're
eliminated. So
done.
we know.
Yeah,
So now the
'cause
race is for
they,
that number one
uh,
seed between Minnesota, Denver, and OKC, and then for that to get out of that
like,
plane and get to that sixth spot.
yeah, the
Um,
coveted six spot.
and it's no easy roads too. The
No,
Pelicans, I
it's
think their
not.
games left are the Trailblazers, and then the Kings, Lakers, and Warriors. And
Oof.
then the Suns, I think they have 2 against the Clippers, and then the Kings, and then either the Lakers or Warriors. I can't remember, but or
So
no, T
everybody in the
Wolves, the
same
T
boat.
Wolves.
So
That's
yeah,
it. Yeah, the Suns
so
have 2 against the Clippers, the Kings, and then the T
yeah,
Wolves. So
yeah.
it's tough. It's going to be an interesting thing. Zion though did put in quite a performance last night to kind of
There he
stop that
goes.
skid. Um, but yeah, so yeah, we're getting to that point in the season. It's the stretch run, the last 4 or so games for everybody in the
Yep.
NBA, and then it's playoff time. Um, Elsewhere, not much going on. It's early season Major League Baseball.
Hmm.
I guess the big story this year is some more pitcher injuries.
Yeah,
Um,
that's, people are
and the
upset
big,
about the pitch clock. Some people are saying that's causing the injuries because they're going faster than what they normally would. I don't know if that's
yeah, but
how.
there's no study on it.
Yeah, so I don't know how accurate that is, but I saw something
Yeah.
about it yesterday, and I was like, I don't. I mean, it may have some, it may be true, but who knows?
Well, yeah, the Players Association, the executive director, released
Hmm.
a statement and it blamed it, but they don't have any studies to actually back that up.
Right.
So it's just kind of one of those weird things
Yeah.
that you do wish baseball could somehow figure out.
All
Um,
right.
NFL, nothing. We're still waiting for the draft at the end of this month.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's kind of everything was very March Madness centric here in sports lately.
Yeah. Well, the men's and especially on the women's side, 'cause
Mhm,
arguably they may have their numbers in the Final Four for the women were ridiculous, and that well, of course, last week's LSU Iowa game and then Iowa UConn game did numbers, and of course, there's the national championship. I mean,
mhm.
just ridiculous numbers. I mean, even with the
Well,
matchup as big as UConn and Purdue, as far as two of the best teams, I mean, they're not touching the women's numbers.
mhm.
It's
Um,
crazy to think you have arguably two of the best teams all season long, consistently at the top of the rankings, and two number one seeds, and it doesn't seem like this game is really getting any excitement at all. It's
yeah,
funny,
but
and I don't
yeah,
know just because of it's the programs or if
Yeah,
it was the.
I think that LSU Iowa game was like the most watched college game period, men or women, on
Hmm.
ESPN for a while
Yeah.
now. But speaking of too, uh, if UConn does indeed hold on as it looks like they will,
Yeah.
the Take It On Sports Bracket Challenge will be won by $15 pretzel at Coleman's. Uh,
Mm.
so do hit us up on one of our social medias. You can find us Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads. Hit me up on there, and we'll get it worked out. We'll get you a Take It On Sports shirt
Nice.
sent your way. Um, Also, that's a great name. Uh, that's a very expensive pretzel. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Hopefully,
yeah,
hopefully that's a few pretzels for 15.
I'm about to say it's a really big pretzel, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else you wanted to touch on real quick before we go?
No, I just, I guess, just on UConn. I mean, just amazing of that they, just where they're at. I mean, what is this? Seven national championships since '99. I
Hmm.
mean, it's just wild. That's just wild. I mean, I think UC at this point only UCLA and Kentucky have more titles than them.
Yeah.
And of course, as we know, I mean, UCLA's is so far, so far behind. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, when '95 was their last title. I mean, Kentucky's had more recent titles, of course. They won a few in the '90s and in 2012. But I mean,
Hmm.
just with UConn, I mean, they're just winning every decade. I mean, UConn puts in one or two, it seems like,
Yeah.
'99 and '04 and 11, 14, last year. It's just wild. It's just a crazy just a amazing program. Maybe doesn't have the national hype of, Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, Carolina, but I mean, they're better than all those, honestly, and just with the success they've had in the last 30 years. It's one of close, just an epic run. I mean, back-to-back titles, first time since '07, '08 with, or '06, '07 with Florida. I mean, obviously, it's hard to win um, back-to-back anything. But then in today's, with everything, with the NIL, the transfer portal, it's even tougher, and people going pro so quickly, and it's hard to build a consistently great program where everybody buys in like they do. And I mean, what Dan Hurley's done is top notch.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And not only are they winning, but it's dominant. I mean, there's no question. I
No,
mean,
absolutely.
they ran,
It's they're just running through folks.
yeah. I mean, they
Um,
ran. They ran last year. They ran this year. Um, it's just wild.
yeah, but this will actually be their sixth, not seventh. They
Is it
win.
six? Okay,
But they will
six
pass
tonight.
Duke. They'll tie Carolina
Carolina.
for
Yeah,
third all time. And like you said, UCLA's last one was '95, and before that it was all '60s and '70s.
yeah. No,
Um,
none of us. Most of us didn't. Even, I mean, there's some, of course, some people, but I mean, the majority of people under
mhm.
f- under 50 never saw John Wooden coach.
No,
So I
yeah,
mean, we just know the name because he's a legend. But we never saw
hmm
him for real. Saw
but yeah,
stories and clips.
hmm but yeah, it really is a testament. We called them, they're a newer blue blood, but they are absolutely a blue blood in the sport.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can't deny what
Yeah.
they've done.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah,
they,
like we said, right now they're tied at five with Duke and Indiana, but Indiana's another program haven't won since '87. They've
yeah,
fallen on
they,
really hard times. Um,
right.
but it's actually crazy looking at this list now. Only 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Only 15 teams have more than one title all time, actually,
Mm,
which is impressive. Some
mm.
interesting names on this list, too. San Francisco, of course, back in shit, who played San Francisco?
Was it Bill?
Was it Bill
Was it
Russell?
Bill Russell?
I think
I
it was
believe
Bill
it
Russell.
was Bill
Yeah, yeah.
Russell. Yeah.
Of course, Oklahoma State, I think, had the first two NCAA tournament titles back in the day. Uh, you got
Yeah.
uh, Florida had theirs two back to back. Cincinnati had two way in the back in the day. Louisville's got three. Uh, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
in Kansas for being one of the blue bloods only quote unquote only has four.
Yeah.
Um, and
And only
UConn's
three
about
in
to
my lifetime.
yeah, and one of those we were in barely old enough to
What was
we
that
didn't even
like?
know. '88, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. '88. I mean, of course, we've seen the shot and stuff when they beat, what was it, Michigan, I believe. Yeah.
hmm
But they won. And, of course, and then '08, they beat. Derrick Rose, because Derrick Rose missed some free throws, and then they beat
Yeah,
Carolina
Coach
a
Cal
couple
could have
years
had
ago.
another one himself. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
Um,
yeah, I mean, it's just amazing what they've done at UConn. I mean, definitely on that upper echelon of basketball, and yeah, I mean, you'd have to think that Hurley's gonna keep on at this level. I mean, he gets the right people in his program to buy in completely. They can play any type of style. They can they play great defense. They methodically just put you to sleep, and then all
hmm
of a sudden you're down 15, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yep.
As we saw
As
Saturday.
as Purdue, yeah, as we saw Purdue seeing right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that should do it for us. Let's go ahead and get out
Yeah.
of here. Uh,
Hmm.
I should have had some fun trying to edit this show with all the
All
interruptions we
over.
had. But real quick, what's been done up real good for you?
Honestly, I mean, the Final Four game in itself, but even more so, man, WrestleMania 40 was pretty epic.
I,
I really enjoyed it. I know you're probably busy, Jazz Fest and stuff, but man, it was some epic matches. Especially that main event last night. I mean, everything that came out, so I thoroughly enjoyed it. It'll be interesting to see what goes on forward with everything, all the different title changes now. But how about you?
yeah, like you said, of course, the Final Four just experience. It didn't go the way we wanted, but
Yeah,
just being able to watch Alabama in the Final Four games awesome.
right.
And then, as usual, like I said, down here for Jazz Fest, coming back to New Orleans, a city we love. It's always good to be back, even though
Oh yeah,
uh, it got right to it a little earlier than we usually do. Usually we get a couple days to, get settled in, go get some groceries for the rental place. Not
yeah.
today. They have me busting uh,
Right away.
right away. But it's always fun to be down here for,
Yeah,
for about the month that we stay. And then toward the end of it, as fun
nice.
as it is, we are ready to get back home to our own bed.
Right.
But that'll do it for us, folks. Yeah, and WrestleMania. Sorry, I do got to go back and actually. I saw some highlights. I got to go sit down and watch it.
Yeah.
At
So
least a couple of those matches. Definitely that main
yeah,
event. Saw all the craziness in it. Just
yeah,
great storytelling by
yeah. That
WWE there
it
over the past few years. So interested to see what the guys at the Alabama Slam say about it this week.
is. For sure.
Um, but yeah, let's go ahead and get out of here. Uh, Thanks as always for listening. Do apologize for if this sounds choppy or anything. I'll see when I go to edit it. But tell your friends about us. Tell your rich friends about us. Subscribe, give us good ratings, all that good stuff. Check out everybody on the newly redesigned AlabamaTape.com. Should be a lot
Beautiful.
easier for you to find all your podcasts. Everything's easy right there.
Hmm.
You can listen to it right on site. You can find all of our episodes. It's really easy,
Yeah.
really cool. Blaine put some good work into that and finding that new host. Um, so that's really nice. We will maybe be back next week. I don't know. We got to figure out our schedule, see if I got the time, and see if the connection issues get any better.
Hmm.
I know this
Yeah,
time
but
last year, yeah, this time last year we did take that a little, like about a month break.
yeah,
Um, so we'll see. We'll of course pay attention to social media. We'll keep y'all updated there.
yeah.
But as always, great man.
We can always come through when it's a big story,
That's
get into
true.
the
Yeah.
playoffs, and then of course we can always, maybe as a slower part, we can do every other week, or as things go.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. And of course,
Figure it
with
out.
with how long the NBA playoffs take, if we do take some time off, it'll only be the end of the first round by the time we come back.
Right. Yep. Have
Uh,
more to talk about. Yeah.
yeah, right. Let it load up. But keep it done up real good yourselves out there, folks. Greg, man. I'll catch you next time.
Yes, sir.